Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute dress. You guys have been requesting this dress a lot, so I'm going to show you guys how to make it, and it is a beginner project. So what you would need is a t-shirt to trace. You will need 1.5 yards of fabric, and also the fabric that I'm using is available on my fabric stores in the info or description box, or many other fab fabrics. So let's get started.
Misha Boo, known as Tamisha Yvette Ridge, was a mother of 3, started out as a fashion designer and DIY enthusiast, posting videos under names like DIY Misha and Misha Boo on her YouTube channel. She taught followers how to take simple sewing materials and turn them into something beautiful, turning her small studio into a modest stage where creativity reigned and subscribers tuned in. Her vision was clear: build a brand, share skills, empower others to create, and in the process, claim a piece of a world that offered little space for voices like hers. As her view count grew and her community expanded, Ridge's personal life remained quietly troubled. She was in a years-long on-again, off-again relationship with Dameshlo Green, a man whose record of violence against women spanned a decade. By 2009, Tamisha had already taken out a restraining order against him, hoping to carve out a safe path forward. Her mother urged her to leave Southern California to return to Sacramento and build a life away from the shadows of fear. She did so, chasing the glimmer of a fresh start. Then on the early morning of May 14th, 2014, everything changed. In her Woodbine Avenue home in Sacramento, Ridge lay asleep, her children nearby, when Green, reportedly having traveled from Texas, entered through an unlocked door, entered her room, and unalived her at point-blank range with a shotgun. The next moment, her bright future was silenced. She was 31 years old. News of her death spread rapidly. The YouTube channel where she once smiled, taught, inspired, now stood as a quiet archive of what might have been. The investigation followed. Green turned himself in shortly after the killing. Prosecutors presented a chilling pattern: a man with repeated convictions, a woman who had tried to escape, a story that ended in tragedy. The first trial in October 2016 ended in a hung jury. But in February 2018, Green was found guilty of first-degree murder and firearm possession. He was later sentenced in June 2018 to 75 years to life behind bars.
You want to place your vehicle into park and go ahead and turn it off for me?
Yeah, sure.
No, park?
Oh, it is in park, yeah.
Okay, turn off your engine. Go ahead and set your keys on the dash for me, all right? What's your guys' names?
Gabby.
I'm Brian.
Gabby, Brian? Okay. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got stuff, flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine. I'm going to go ahead and close your door, okay? Why don't you come over here? SO229, I had the female that was on the passenger seat separated from the male. Keys are on the hood. You want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, some days I have really bad OCD, and
okay.
I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of the van before, and I was apologizing to him and saying, I'm sorry that I'm so mean, because sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated. Not like mean towards him, I just like, I guess my vibe is like I am like in a bad mood, and I was just saying I'm sorry if I'm in a bad mood. I've just been really stressed. I had so much work I was doing on my computer this morning.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I used to work at an organic juice bar, but I just quit my job.
Okay.
I was a nutritionist. That's
okay.
That was my
That's
job.
cool.
And I just quit my job to travel across the country. And I'm trying to start a blog.
Gabrielle Gabby Petito was 22 years old, bright, creative, and full of dreams. In the summer of 2021, she and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, set out on a cross-country road trip, documenting their van life adventures on YouTube and Instagram. To their followers, they seemed like a couple living the dream, traveling through national parks, camping under open skies, and sharing picture-perfect moments. But behind those smiling photos was a tension quietly building. Throughout August, signs of trouble began to surface. On August 12th, police in Moab, Utah responded to a report of a domestic dispute between Gabby and Brian. The encounter, captured on body cam footage, showed a tearful Gabby trying to explain a fight that had turned physical. Officers separated them for the night, but ultimately did not file charges. It would be one of the last confirmed public interactions before Gabby vanished. In late August, communication between Gabby and her family suddenly stopped. Her last text message, sent around August 27th, raised alarm for its odd phrasing. By September 1st, Brian Laundrie had returned home to Florida alone, driving Gabby's white van. He offered no explanation, and within days, he refused to cooperate with investigators. Gabby's family reported her missing on September 11th, sparking a nationwide search. Social media users, true crime followers, and everyday people joined in, combing through her posts and locations in hopes of finding answers. On September 19, 2021, authorities located her body near a campsite in Wyoming's Bridger-Teton National Forest, a location she and Brian had recently visited. The autopsy confirmed what many feared. Gabby had been murdered by manual asphyxiation. Her manner of death ruled a homicide. Investigators named Brian Laundrie as a person of interest, but before he could be questioned, he disappeared. Weeks later, on October 20th, 2021, Laundrie's remains were found in Florida's Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. Nearby, investigators recovered a notebook containing his written confession, admitting responsibility for Gabby's death. His cause of death was ruled a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Gabby's family later founded the Gabby Petito Foundation, dedicated to supporting domestic violence victims and raising awareness about missing persons. Christina Victoria Grimmie was born on March 12, 1994, in Marlton, New Jersey. From around the age of 6, Christina's father had noticed her talent for singing, and her family had greatly encouraged her musical abilities. By age 10, Christina also began to play piano. In 2009, at the age of 15 years old, Christina began posting videos of her singing to her YouTube channel under the username ZeldaxLove64. She wanted to connect with people through her music, and the first video she uploaded was a cover of Hannah Montana's Don't Wanna Be Torn. As she began to post more and more covers, she also began to show off her piano playing abilities to accompany her singing. By 2010, Christina was fast becoming known on the platform. Soon enough, her collaboration with fellow YouTubers Sam Tsui and Kurt Hugo Schneider on a cover of Nelly's Just a Dream would prove to be her most popular video yet and would amass her first 1 million subscribers by the following year. The video has gained a total of 25 million views as of 2025. On June 10, 2016, Christina was due to perform with the Orlando pop rock band Before You Exit at the Plaza Live in Orlando, Florida. While on tour, her brother Mark played guitar for her, worked as road manager, and made sure to keep a close eye on her. She took to her Twitter page, urging fans to come out to watch her perform at the show, and announced that she would be doing a meet and greet afterwards for her fans. Sadly, Christina could never have imagined that a performance that had now become routine for her would end in tragedy and leave not only her loyal fan base, but an entire nation in mourning. Unknown to anyone was that she had caught the attention of a man who had been following her career for a long time. His name was Kevin Loibel. Like Christina, Kevin, who was 27 years old, was a natural introvert and gravitated towards video games. But although they may have shared similar interests, their lives were worlds apart. Kevin was a loner and had grown up with an abusive mother before she had died of an aspirin overdose in 2010 at their home in St. Petersburg, Florida. After this, his father had entered into a tumultuous relationship with a new woman, often resulting in fights and the police being called due to violence and alcohol. Kevin often retreated to his bedroom, withdrawing into video games and computers, covering the windows with aluminum foil and a comforter to block out the light. Sometimes he wore earplugs to avoid loud noises. It was whilst on his computer that he had first discovered Christina Grimmie and had begun to develop a deep obsession for her in the last 6 to 12 months. Kevin's only friend in the world, Corey Dennington, who had known Kevin for around 15 years, eventually helped his friend get a part-time job at Best Buy. Other co-workers described him as socially awkward, detached, and said he had no social skills. According to his friend Corey, Kevin spent most of his waking hours watching Christina on YouTube and had watched everything that had to do with her. He was also constantly monitoring her social media accounts. Kevin claimed to be an atheist, but told Corey that Christina's Christianity had spurred a change of heart and helped him see the world in a different way. He said if there was a God, then he has seen it in her. Many who knew Kevin Loibel had noticed changes in him around this time. He had shed 50 pounds, undergone LASIK surgery, had his teeth whitened and got hair implants, all in an attempt to improve his appearance, with Corey Dennington telling police that Kevin said he had done it all for Christina Grimmie. When Corey had tried to explain to Kevin that it was illogical to believe he could ever have a relationship with Christina, Kevin became angry and defensive. He never elaborated on what he would do if he met Christina, but he referred to her as his soulmate. The last time that Corey would ever speak to his friend was 5 days before Christina's Orlando concert. They were at work, and Kevin returned some magazines he had borrowed months before and said, "I love you, brother." He also said he was tired and ready to ascend. During the concert, Kevin stood at the back of the theater, completely motionless and alone in a checked shirt and baseball cap that concealed his face. Those around him described him as being awkward and creepy. Unknown to the people standing around him, Kevin had 2 handguns holstered inside the back of his jeans and a knife strapped around his left ankle as he watched Christina perform. The concert went smoothly, and afterwards at around 10:24 p.m., Christina excitedly made her way over to her merchandise table to greet fans. Kevin stuck out, appearing to be nearly double the age of the young teen fans. But this wasn't a problem for the singer. According to Mark, Christina never judged anyone, so it didn't matter what someone looked like or if they acted weirdly, she just had this way with people. Everyone loved her and literally never had a problem with any fan. As the last fans cleared, Kevin approached Christina. He didn't say anything, and noticing that he seemed a little anxious and withdrawn, Christina opened her arms for a hug. It was her trademark way to break the ice if she thought a fan was too shy to greet her, to make her guest feel more welcome and at ease. In what seemed like a split second, Kevin pulled out one of his fired directly at Christina. The first shot echoed in the theater and everyone looked around, thinking it was the workers popping balloons that had been released during the show. Mark looked up, saw Kevin with the gun and his sister falling to the ground. Another 4 shots sounded as Mark jumped over the desk and tackled Kevin to the ground. Mark later recalled, "I wasn't afraid. There wasn't any time for fear. It was my first instinct to tackle him, so that's what I did." He wrestled the gun away from Kevin just feet away from where his sister lay dying. Somehow Kevin managed to get out of Mark's grip. He backed up against a wall and pulled out his second gun. Mark looked up at him and thought that his life was about to end. Instead, Kevin stepped backwards and unalived himself to everyone's surprise. Police soon began looking into the killer. The Orlando Police Department said Kevin had traveled by taxi to Orlando from his home in St. Petersburg, Florida, a 2-hour ride that had cost him $200. Kevin had checked into his hotel room at the Courtyard by Marriott. Authorities later uncovered a Nike drawstring backpack containing things like toiletries, bullets, and a sleeping mask. Police did not offer a motive for the killing, but the Orlando Sentinel described his motive as, "If I can't have you, then nobody else can, and I am going to possess you by taking your life." Messy Mya. In the heart of New Orleans, a voice once echoed through the streets, bold, colorful, and unapologetically raw. His name was Anthony Michael Barr, but the world knew him as Messy Mya, the loud, magnetic YouTuber whose words, wit, and wild personality captured the pulse of his city. With his fluorescent hair, sharp humor, and a camera that rarely blinked, Mya turned ordinary street corners into stages and everyday people into stars of his spontaneous comedy. His videos weren't just entertainment, they were snapshots of New Orleans culture, unfiltered, authentic, and vibrant. Born on December 15, 1987, Mya's life was not without pain. When he was just 13, his mother was unalived by her boyfriend, a tragedy that marked him deeply but never dimmed his spirit. Instead, He turned that pain into performance, using humor and charisma to claim space in a world that often overlooked voices like his. His videos drew thousands of views and made him a local celebrity. By 2010, things were looking up for the young comedian. He was expecting his first child and had plans to expand his creative reach. But on the night of November 14th, 2010, the laughter that defined Messy Mya's life was silenced forever. After attending a baby shower for his unborn son in New Orleans' 7th Ward, Mya lost his life in a shooting incident while walking to his car. He was just 22 years old. The streets that once rang with his humor now echoed with sirens and grief. News of his death spread fast, first through the city, then across social media, where fans mourned the loss of a voice that had come to symbolize joy, honesty, and unfiltered expression. Investigators soon arrested a man named Jason Hamilton, accusing him of being responsible for the murder. But the case quickly unraveled. Hamilton maintained his innocence, and years later, the charges were dropped after evidence revealed he had an alibi. He wasn't even at the scene when the shooting occurred. Mya's murder remains unsolved, a wound that never quite healed for his family or his community. In death, however, Messy Mya's voice refused to fade. Years after his passing, a snippet of his voice appeared in Beyoncé's hit song Formation, sampled without permission. The line, "What happened at the New Orleans?" reignited interest in his life and legacy. His estate later filed a $20 million lawsuit against Beyoncé, arguing that his art had been borrowed but his story forgotten. It became a strange twist in an already haunting narrative, one that reminded the world of who Messy Mya was and how deeply his voice still resonated. In the spring of 2023, an American named Elliot O'Neill Eastman left behind his quiet hometown in Vermont and set his sights on the Philippines, where he believed he had found purpose, adventure, and a love story. On his YouTube channel, he introduced himself as the outsider who had become the first and only foreigner living long-term in the remote municipality of Cebuco in the province of Zamboanga del Norte, a stretch of coastline deep in Mindanao, known more for its rugged terrain than for hosting Western vloggers. He married a local woman, moved into her family home, and began documenting his life, slow mornings, local food, the tropical weather, the sea, framing a narrative of exploration, belonging, and a leap into something different. Yet beneath the video thumbnails and travel vlog aesthetic lay cracks in the story. Locals observed a foreigner living in a place with long-standing security issues and few protections. Eastman's YouTube bio and past live streams hinted at unease. "It's like living in the most dangerous area in the country. It's literally the red zone," he once said. The region's history of insurgency, kidnapping, and maritime threats loomed quietly in his vlogs, yet flagged a warning sign. On October 17, 2024, his life took a tragic turn. Late that evening, 4 armed men dressed in police-style uniforms or posing as officers entered his residence in Sitio Tungawan, Barangay Poblacion, Cebuco. According to multiple police reports, Eastman tried to resist. He was once in the leg, once in the abdomen as he attempted to fight back against the abduction. With men pulling him aboard a motorized banca, a traditional boat, they sped out to sea under the cover of darkness. Witnesses later told investigators that during the boat ride, Eastman succumbed to his wounds. The abductors, realizing he could not survive, allegedly threw his body into the Sulu Sea. In December 2024, Philippine National Police officials officially declared Eastman likely dead, citing the consistent statements of a suspect and supporting witness accounts, even though his remains have never been recovered and the motive remains speculative. Some believe ransom was never the goal. Others suggest a personal conflict, possibly involving relationships or local dynamics, triggered the night's events. One of the masterminds, identified as Ustadz Jacaraya Jamani, was arrested in January 2025 off the coast of Zamboanga City and Basilan Strait. Though many questions persist. Benjamin Roger Ross Pardon. In a quiet house in Houston, Missouri, a teenager who once spent his days editing videos and crafting memes online was preparing for another night of creativity. Born on April 12, 2005 in Long Beach, California, Benjamin Roger Ross Pardon, known to many under his online aliases such as Gary21115 or Warner, the Goobermeister, had found his voice behind the screen, editing cartoon clips and YouTube poops that quietly built him a modest following. His work was playful, low-key, and lived in the corners of internet culture less traveled. At just 16, he had already spent years in those creative trenches, learning software, posting uploads, making friends across Discord servers and YouTube comment threads. On the evening of January 27th, 2022, everything changed. Benjamin was at home when tragedy struck. According to official record and obituary notice, he died at his residence in Houston, Missouri, the product of gun violence. He was 16 years old. The circumstances are reported as a murder-suicide initiated by his father, with his mother also among the victims.
Okay, show you how big this bullet is. Here's my watch, G-Shock, and watch the length. The length of this bullet is the entire face of my G-Shock. That's how big it is. This thing goes coming right out the muzzle at about 1,500 feet per second. That's just over 3 football fields in length in the matter of a second. So if I snap my fingers, this 50 caliber cannonball just went over a little bit over 3 football fields in length. And why show this? Because I'm gonna show how well. Well, I really just want to see. What's the point of this? I really just want to see if trucks.
Sorry.
Another one. The point of this video is I really just want to see if a 50 caliber bullet can go through a book.
In the summer of 2017, a young couple in Minnesota set out to chase fame the modern way through their YouTube channel. 22-year-old Pedro Ruiz III and his girlfriend Mona Lisa Perez dreamed of going viral, of turning everyday life and risky stunts into a path toward internet success. Their videos were playful, adventurous, sometimes reckless, the kind of homemade clips that gave viewers a window into young love and youthful ambition. But behind the laughter and light-hearted pranks, a single idea would soon spiral into tragedy. A stunt meant to shock the world ended up taking a life instead. Pedro was a father, a thrill seeker, and someone who genuinely believed in the power of viral content. He wanted to give his unborn child a better future, to build something out of his charisma and daring spirit, and for his next video, he wanted to do something big, something that would grab attention and propel their channel beyond obscurity. The plan was simple, at least in theory. Mona Lisa would fire a Pedro while he held a thick encyclopedia against his chest, believing the book would stop the bullet. It was supposed to be dangerous but not deadly, the kind of shocking stunt that gets shared, replayed, and remembered. On June 26, 2017, the cameras were set. The couple's 3-year-old daughter watched from a distance as Mona Lisa raised the .50 caliber Desert Eagle pistol, one of the most powerful handguns in the world. Pedro stood just a few feet away, clutching the book to his chest, confident that it would protect him. Mona Lisa hesitated, reportedly telling him she didn't want to go through with it, but Pedro reassured her it would work. They'd even tested the concept with other books before, he told her. This time would be no different. Then the shot rang out. The projectile tore through the pages and hit Pedro directly in the chest. He collapsed instantly. When police arrived, they found the camera still rolling. Pedro Ruiz was pronounced dead at the scene. Mona Lisa Perez, just 19 years old and pregnant with their second child, was arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter. She later told investigators that the stunt was Pedro's idea, that he had convinced her it was safe, that it would make them famous. Mona Lisa pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 180 days in jail, 10 years of probation, and a lifetime ban from possessing firearms. The couple's child was born months after Pedro's death, growing up without a father because of a moment's misjudgment and a hunger for attention. Keith Ratliff was a quiet genius with a love for weapons, engineering, and innovation. He wasn't just another YouTuber, he was the technical mind behind the success of FPS Russia, one of the biggest gun-related channels in the world, known for its explosive demonstrations and heavy artillery. While his friend Kyle Myers became the on-camera face of the brand, Keith was the man who made it possible, sourcing the weapons, handling logistics, and keeping the show running with precision and safety. But in early 2013, the man who helped bring controlled destruction to millions of viewers would himself become the victim of a brutal and senseless act of violence. Keith was born on February 3, 1980, in Frankfort, Kentucky. He was known for his sharp intellect, quick wit, and unwavering fascination with firearms and engineering. He married, settled down, and had a son, balancing family life with his thriving work in the digital space. By 2012, FPS Russia had exploded in popularity, boasting millions of subscribers and billions of views. It was a YouTube empire built on spectacle, explosions, rare guns, and a thick Russian accent delivered by Myers as the fictional Dmitry Potapov. But behind the scenes, Ratliff handled the legalities and logistics of acquiring the powerful weapons featured on camera, a responsibility that came with both respect and risk. On January 3, 2013, that risk became reality. Police found Keith Ratliff dead inside his office in Carnesville, Georgia. He unalived with a bullet wound to the head. Around him were dozens of firearms, untouched, still locked and secured. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle. The man who handled some of the deadliest weapons on YouTube had been executed with eerie precision. He was just 32 years old. The news sent shockwaves through both the YouTube and firearms communities. How could someone so deeply involved in weapon safety, someone surrounded by guns, be killed in such a calculated way? The Georgia Bureau of Investigation took the lead, launching an inquiry that would stretch on for years. But despite speculation, no suspect was ever charged and no clear motive was established. Some whispered about business disputes, others about government pressure following growing scrutiny of gun channels, especially after the Sandy Hook shooting just weeks before his death. But in the absence of evidence, only questions remained. Keith's death marked the end of an era for FPS Russia. Within years, the channel slowed and eventually stopped producing content altogether. Kyle Myers, his friend and collaborator, would later face legal trouble unrelated to the murder, federal charges over possession of marijuana and firearms, but Ratliff's case stayed cold, unsolved, and haunting. To this day, Keith Ratliff's murder remains one of the most mysterious crimes to ever touch the YouTube community. Asia McGowan, a 20-year-old college student and aspiring YouTuber from Michigan, was known for her warmth, her creativity, and her belief that she could make people smile through her videos. She posted skits, dance clips, and monologues, light-hearted pieces that reflected her personality and dreams. But behind her growing online presence, there was someone watching someone whose admiration would twist into obsession, and whose fixation would ultimately turn deadly. On April 10, 2009, what began as an ordinary day at Henry Ford Community College in Dearborn turned into a scene of horror. That morning, security guards responded to the sound of gunfire coming from an empty classroom. When they arrived, they found Asia lying lifeless, shot multiple times, alongside the body of a man who had turned the gun on himself. The shooter was identified as Anthony Powell, a 28-year-old former student and fellow YouTuber who had been obsessed with her for months. Powell had built a disturbing presence online. He was known on YouTube for posting angry, rambling videos under the name Tony48219, where he often ranted about religion, women, and society. In those videos, his tone was bitter and resentful, a man stewing in frustration and loneliness. But buried within that anger was a fixation on Asia. He commented on her videos, followed her social media accounts, and spoke about her in disturbing ways, convinced that she was ignoring or rejecting him. Those who watched his videos would later describe them as chilling, warning signs that few took seriously until it was too late. On the morning of the murder, Powell uploaded one final video to YouTube. In it, he spoke cryptically about his anger, his pain, and his intention to make a statement. Hours later, he drove to the college, walked into the classroom where Asia was rehearsing for a presentation, and opened fire before taking his own life. The sound of the gunshots echoed through the empty halls, marking one of the first known cases of a YouTube-related murder-suicide. News of Asia's death devastated her family, friends, and online community. She had been studying to become a teacher, driven by a deep love of art and performance. Those who knew her said she radiated kindness, that she saw the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. To think that her life ended at the hands of someone she barely knew, someone who only knew her through the digital world, made the tragedy all the more chilling.